Hi and welcome to Mastery Muse. Today I want to share with you a model that will help you build relationships from the place of empowerment. By that I mean relationships with others, whether it's your work colleagues, your partner, your family, maybe you're a leader and have a team, or also a relationship with yourself. To do that, I will explain to you first the drama triangle. It's sometimes called the dreaded drama triangle, and it consists of 3 different toxic roles that we take subconsciously and naturally. And then I will explain to you the alternative, which comes from the empowerment dynamic, and I will explain which role you can replace in what way in order to have a more empowering approach to life and your relationships. First, quickly, the drama triangle. It's been introduced by Karpman and it has 3 roles: victim, persecutor, and rescuer. These roles don't necessarily need to stick to one person. We change those roles constantly and naturally. Because of that, it's easy to get stuck. So what are the roles exactly? The victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. And maybe you can even recognize them from the fairy tales, the princess who's locked somewhere in the tower, and then some villain who is keeping her away from all the good things in life. And finally, there comes a rescuer who saves the princess. If it was a fairy tale, they would live happily ever after. But in real life, the chances are that the princess are gonna feel like a victim for the rest of her life. The rescuer is gonna be trying to save her all over again and again and again until he or she realizes that they totally disregarded their own needs, and then they might start attacking the victim full of resentment, or even become a victim like, oh, I'm so poor, always trying to do everything for others and not doing stuff for myself. Then they might look for a rescuer and leave the princess. So, the life story was not as straightforward as a fairy tale. And if we want to have a happy end in life, we really need to be more creative and more proactive, not so reactive. So let's look into details at all those 3 roles. The victim. The victim you can recognize by statements like, poor me, there's always stuff happening to me, I'm so tired, I cannot do this, I don't know how, and this is changing. It's like constantly worrying mindset without any feeling of progress. It's driven by anxiety, by fear, by low self-esteem sometimes, and there is not much energy to move forward. The victim is looking for a rescuer, but might attract either a rescuer or a persecutor. A rescuer is the person who wants to help others. And you see, there is always a good need behind each of those stances. The rescuer wants to help, but they want to also feel needed. This is the mom who cooks for you even though you said you weren't hungry and didn't want to eat. The rescuer feels sorry for the victim and they want to do good for others, but also to make themselves feel good and needed. They might take over the responsibilities from the victim or victimize other people in order to put themselves into this role. Persecutor is the dominating stance. They always right, they always know everything the best, and they might talk down to victim in a very aggressive way. Stop whining, why are you so weak, pull yourself together, and so on. They know exactly what the victim should do and they hammer it down at the victim. This stance of persecutor doesn't help the victim to reach the state of empowerment. It could work a little bit with anger or some emotion that she or he gets some energy to drive forward, but it's not gonna work on the long term. And each of us finds ourselves in this triangle, in these 3 roles to some extent. Because, as I said, there are good, valid human needs, normal psychological needs behind those roles. To sum them up, in the Karpman Drama Triangle, you have 3 roles: victim, persecutor, and rescuer. The victim is reactive, it's disempowered. The rescuer is telling the victim what to do or taking responsibility for her, and the persecutor is putting the victim down. And you can see this pattern quite often in different situations. Maybe I can give you another example, maybe from parenting. I don't have children, but somehow easy example. There is a child The child comes to mom and asks, "Mommy, can I have a candy?" Mommy says no. The child feels sad and they say like, "Oh, poor me, I could never have a candy. And mom is so bad, she doesn't want to give me a candy." Maybe the child is gonna go to the dad, and the dad might take the role of rescuer and say, "Oh, well, bad mom didn't want to give you a candy. Well, I'm gonna save the day. You're gonna get a candy from me." And the dad takes the role of rescuer, gives the child the candy. Then when mom learns about it, she starts being pulled into this triangle as well. She might take the role of the victim again, either the victim or persecutor, because if there is a rescuer, there will be victim and persecutor. Why the heck are you not respecting my decision? Or she might take the role of the victim and feel like my meaning doesn't matter in this house and so on. There is no way out. There is no way out. We change the stances and we don't build any positive place in the end, in the long term. Now, what would be a better way to build relationships? That brings me to the empowerment dynamic. And it's also a triangle, but flipped upside down, and shows what each of us roles need to do to break this triangle. This should always be your goal. It's okay to get into the triangle. It happens. It's natural. However, if you see that you kind of constantly create this drama, you should recognize it and try to get out of it. This is why I'm making this video, because it's a block to self-mastery, getting stuck in these triangles. So let's go to the empowerment triangle. You have 3 roles in that one, and this one is not so focused on the problem like the drama triangle of Karpman, but more focused on the solutions, and it's outcome based as well. So let's look at the detailed roles. The victim needs to move from the reactive state, like I'm just a victim of all the circumstances in my life and in the world, to a more proactive stance, which could be a stance of creator. And that means replacing beliefs like life just happens to me, I just need to survive, poor me, all bad things happen to me, why me, always me. Going from this object of all the events to the belief of, despite of all the circumstances, I have a choice. I can choose what I do, I can set my goals, I can follow my dreams, even with small steps. I always have a choice. So this is the shift, the transition that the victim needs to make. And to help the victim make this transition, an important question is, in all the situation that you are right now, what is it that you want? Help the victim reflect on what they want. That's the important step in this transition. The transition for the rescuer. Rescuer is the person who always saves the day, they feel good about it, but the rescuer overdoes it. Is this the right word? The rescuer does too much. They don't respect their own boundaries. They just focus on other person's needs, the victim's needs. By doing that, the rescuer actually reinforces the feeling of dependency and disempowerment, because he or she always needs a victim to help so they can come and be a hero and save the day. This is not good. So the rescuer needs to change, and the shift that they need to do is from telling to asking, and from saving the day by doing too much, empowering others to take responsibility for their lives. Once the rescuer realizes that, the steps would be to reflect on their own boundaries and try to replace the beliefs like, I have to do everything because otherwise it won't be done, or I must save others, with beliefs like, people are resourceful and they can figure out their own way. Also replacing the feeling of feeling sorry for a victim with a feeling of trust in the abilities of the victim. So the rescuer shifts to a kind of coach, talking to the victim, giving them the space to reflect, and then encouraging them to move into the more empowering stance. Persecutor is the aggressive type. It doesn't have to be aggressive, but it is the self-righteous type. They dominate, they know exactly what needs to be done, and they talk down to victim, they put the victim down. You know, the persecutor to exist, they need the victim as well. So they put down the victim because they need to feel right, they need to feel like they're winning. The persecutor needs to shift from putting the victim down to building people up. And the way to do it is to replace these beliefs that I just mentioned, like I must win, I know exactly what needs to be done, with thoughts like things unfold at their own pace. Everything happens in the right time. I need to trust the process. Other people can do it. So this is the empowerment dynamic. Let's come back to the examples that I gave in the beginning, like with mom cooking for you, or mom or your partner cooking for you, although you said you weren't hungry. So the drama triangle would be like, I told you I'm not hungry. Oh, you don't appreciate what I do for you. I always do things for you and you're so ungrateful. What do you mean I'm ungrateful? I said that I weren't hungry. If you only listen to me, you never listen to me. Da, 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 da. That's the drama triangle. And the empowerment triangle would be, are you hungry? No. If the person cooks then and takes any of those sort of stances of like rescuer, cooking for the other person, and the situation happens, instead of getting into this roller coaster, the mom or the partner brings you food and said, oh, I cooked for you. Well, I said I am not hungry, so what was the reason why you cooked for me? I said I wasn't hungry. And maybe that will trigger some reflection, like, well, I was cooking anyway and I thought you would get hungry sooner or later, so I might as well have just cooked now. And then you can say, well, that might have worked when I was a child. Now I'm an adult and I can cook for myself. So if I say that I am not hungry, I am not hungry. And if I am hungry, I can tell you. You can have a totally different relationship and different dynamic. So remember, instead of being a victim, be a creator, figure out what you want and make small steps. Instead of being a rescuer, be a coach. Don't take responsibility for others while neglecting your own needs. Sacrifice might be noble, but it's not working on long term. You're sooner or later gonna build up resentment and look for your own rescuer. This is not the best way. And you're fostering codependency instead of having strong, empowering relationships. So that's not the way to go either. Instead of being a rescuer, try to become more like a coach, ask questions, give some encouragement, and help, of course, when it's needed. But make sure that you set clear boundaries. If you have a tendency to be a persecutor, try to find a different way to interact with people, not by putting them down, but by building them up. Think of yourself as a challenger. Look for things that are good and see how you can improve. And communicate this to others. Don't just put them down and be overtly critical of everything that they're doing. I promise you that if you try this, if you are mindful of this, and I really hope this video helps you to be aware of this mechanic that happens again and again. And it's not like, oh, now I know this, now I'm going to improve my relationships. No, I've learned about this concept 5-6 years ago, and when I learned about it first through a casual conversation with a friend, actually, I was shocked because I started seeing it everywhere. And so many years later, I still see it and I still see my own tendencies, but I did make some improvements and it's work in progress. But I promise you it's worth it. You're gonna build yourself up, you're gonna build others up, and we're gonna reach a better state overall, all of us, and be more satisfied with our lives, because we're not gonna waste our energy on this toxic, draining, emotional drama and unnecessary BS. Right, that was my contribution for this week. I wish you wonderful, empowering relationships. And I will see you next Friday. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. We have 90 subscribers. I feel so excited because only 10 more and then I can rename this huge, long, randomly generated channel URL to YouTube channel Mastery Muse. So thank you for helping me getting there.